Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you are planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. My special guest today is Laura Mayer, author, expressive artist, paint Intuit, and healing activator. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jean Voice Dart, and I'm here with my very special friend, Laura Mayer. Welcome, Laura. I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. It's my joy and honor and pleasure to have you here. Laura is going to share her journey of physical, emotional challenges and trauma and finding the expressive arts. And she's just a remarkable being with a really inspiring story. And later on, she's going to be sharing some tips with us, how we can break through blocks and barriers to expressive arts, and also sharing her beautiful paintings. So I'm excited for this journey. So Laura, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about growing up and what that was like for you?
It was challenging, to say the least. So there are a lot of things that happened very early on in my life. My biological father passed when I was 3. And we moved away from New York, where I was living in Manhattan. And so not only did we move from New York because my mother was going to remarry, but I was leaving my grandfather and my grandmother, who I was very close with, because it was a lot of turmoil in the first 3 years of my life.
Well, let's take a look at, you have a photo here. Here you are. Tell us about this photo.
I don't even know, maybe 3-4 months old. This is in Central Park in Manhattan. And it's so lovely to see my mother smile. I haven't seen that smile ever again in my life. And my biological father was 23 probably at the time. And he then passed when he was 25 of Hodgkin's from being in the Air Force nuclear testing sites. So there was a lot of trauma very, very early on. And yeah, I think what I love the most about that photo is I have my father's chin and I have his smirk. We both have the same smirk. So, when you lose someone, no matter what the reality is, to have something of him, I am so him, in terms of how I look. And it just always brought me peace.
Let's go to this next picture here. This is
okay. So my mother then met when I was probably 2.5. My mother met this man who had just graduated dental school in New York, and his name is Saul, and he adopted my sister and I. And he just passed 2 years ago, and he was my father.
Okay.
Yeah. Just notice my mother's lack of smile, okay?
Yes, she has a different expression from
She never smiled like that again.
Yeah, that bright, just I'll go for it smile back there. Yeah. So your mother changed after the death of your birth father, and that smile was never there again, you said. So you came to understand why, and that was just a real healing for you to understand it. And what did you learn about your mother?
The trauma of my birth wasn't just mine. My mother also had the PTSD from the trauma of the birth. So we both had this PTSD, and which of course I never knew. And the healing moment for me was in recognizing how could she bond with me if I am part of the PTSD. I always do rhymes. It's very interesting in my.
And so how are you a part of the trauma, the post-traumatic
I was
stress?
in utero. She was pregnant with me when this situation happened that terrorized both her and me, obviously, because I was in utero 7 months at that time. 2 hours after this traumatic event, I was born 2 months premature. So that set into motion not only the PTSD for me, which today I do believe is the source of my physical disease.
Yes.
But what I didn't even make the connection to was she had the same PTSD, but nobody talked about it. Nobody recognized that.
You didn't talk about that back then.
Nobody talked. That part of her, that fun, I don't know what, that active, very active ADHD, active lady, just numbed out for the rest of her life.
Yes.
You know, to her credit, she went in, she became a social worker. And I do believe that was her yearning. And she may not even, I don't believe she was aware of it because she was so blocked in so many ways.
Yes. So in your book, Unlocking the Invisible Child, you share this amazing journey and awakening that you had with your mom, realizing that she had post-traumatic stress disorder as well as you because of this trauma. But you also shared the trauma, which is just unbelievable and jaw-dropping, what you went through, both of you. Do you want to tell us what that trauma was, or is that too difficult?
My biological father literally chased my mother down 9 flights of stairs. He runs down the stairs. She's running away from him.
With you inside of him.
And she's 7 months pregnant with me, and he has a gun. That, I mean, I've never been chased with a man with a gun, although I had recurring nightmares about it for 15 years, which makes so much sense. But
wow,
that was the trauma that took her, as she knew herself, away. And she was young. She's 18 years old. So, you know, she's a kid.
So you just said that you had nightmares about being chased.
Always.
Even though that happened in utero, that you had nightmares about it. That's so profound. So
well, it is so profound, and yet not today, because the area of study that I'm involved in my therapeutic practice is all around the epigenetics, and that is epigenetics.
Yes.
So yes, in utero we carry all of the traumas and sensations and happy stuff that our parents go through. Okay, we carry it all. We feel it all. We assume it all in our genetic makeup, in our epigenetic makeup. Yes. So the amazing disclosure for me is to make those connections, to keep those synapses together and say, oh my gosh. So for somebody, I mean, I'm 66, for somebody who never knew, what did I ever do to you, Mom, to make you so distant and nasty to me? Yes. I get it. And I get it with a sense of relief and incredible, beyond forgiveness, there's a compassion and an acknowledgement. How could you, you know, unless you were able to do that work, which nobody did. Okay.
Right. We did not do.
I was born in 55. Nobody did
in the
that
50s and 60s, we did not do.
Right. And as I said,
we didn't know. Yeah.
We didn't know. And as I said, my mother did go and get a master's in social work. She worked in psychiatric social work for years. And I do believe that was her trying, except that she was so sealed off. Yes. It didn't matter what she was studying.
Let's talk about, because you have some other stuff that's just incredible. I want to make sure people hear about that. So you were affected, PTSD, and you have this body brain connection. You have this journey in life. And tell us about what happened when you were growing up. All of a sudden, you had this dramatic change in your body and being able to manage your body and finding out something from doctors. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I'm in my world, doing my thing. Always very lonely, even though I had friends, especially, by the time I was 7th and 8th grade, I was in the in crowd and all of that, and a cheerleader, and then slammed with a neurological disease, which it started at 14. My fingers, I couldn't open up my fingers, actually my pinky. And I've had a surgery. I was in Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City. Of course, I'm all about New York. And then thinking it would just go away, like, oh, no worries. It's brachial plexus. It's pressure on a muscle, on a nerve, and you'll be fine. Well, I wasn't. So at 15, I'm back in the hospital for 6 weeks doing exploratories, trying to figure out what's going on with me. And they said, you have like an ALS. Okay, it was a differential
Which is
ALS, because
really,
back then there was polio and ALS, and because it was bilateral, they labeled it this, which is anterior horn cell disease, which today is called oh my gosh, neuromuscular. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm. Anyway, it's a motor neuron disease. That's what it is, MND.
okay.
And basically the chief, the number one neurologist in the country, the guy who wrote the textbook, said to me, there's nothing we can do. I'm 15, needle pointing. There's nothing we can do. You will lose 1 millimeter a month of muscle strength, and it'll hit your respiratory muscles. Said, keep on
So
needle
how
pointing, and walked out of the room.
how are you feeling after that news?
Then or now?
Then.
I don't know. And I wrote about that in my second book. I don't know what I did, except the chief resident, who was a gem, and he was this really good looking dude wearing desert boots. So, I'm a 15-year-old girl, like, he's gorgeous, right? He stood at my side when all the other residents and the doc left, the chief left. And he said, I cannot believe he just said that to you. And what I just wrote about was, I think I handed it to him because he actually was a witness to what happened. And all I know, and again, I'm piecing together all the pieces, something shifted. And the next thing I knew, I am continuing this needlepoint, which is really it was the first needlepoint I ever did. My grandmother bought it and brought it to the hospital. I'm there 6 weeks. It's a long time for a kid to be in a hospital. And I started doing this pre-painted needlepoint because I still could, And the other thing I remember so distinctly was, I'm in a room, and this 15-year-old is in a room with 3 elderly women dying of brain cancer. And it was terrifying to me. I'm like, oh my God, is this going to happen to me too? Because nobody knew why this happened. How is that going to happen? Okay. How is that not going to happen?
Yeah.
But I remember the woman directly across from me was screaming to get help. And I go over and I start cranking up her bed. And I laugh today, or I have such deep appreciation. I mean, what I'm saying now is after years, okay, 50 years, I never stopped trying to learn, but this incredible deep appreciation for, I'm the one with the hand issue. Yes. And I get up and do this, and it was arduous then for her. And the guts to not act out, to not say, screw the world. And I'm doing my needlepoint. And listening to my music. And I don't know how or why, but something hit and it shifted. And their diagnosis was correct, except that it never went to my legs. But at 21, I started to feel my foot involvement, and I was panicked. And I remember thinking, I just want to get married before I'm in a wheelchair. I went to see another specialist, another top-notch specialist. And because that's all my father knew. And he said I'd be in a wheelchair by 25 and dead at 40. So I really kicked into gear and applied to graduate school after a year of working full-time as an OT. Something in me, and I had no idea what it was, except I was a survivor. I was going to survive as best as I can for as long as I can. And I really did believe that I would be in a wheelchair. And I mean, so that's what's so interesting.
Yes.
I believed I'd be in a wheelchair, and my whole life ran around this progressive degenerative disease.
Mm-hmm.
And it never happened. At 25.
Never happened.
Never happened. So what happened is that my upper extremities, just, that was it. I lost the ability to function. I say that with a smile because I worked every day as an OT, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
my
anyway.
heart goes out to you so much. I had the same experience. The doctor grabbed my hands, looked me in the face and said, "You will never be able to walk again. You'll be in a wheelchair. Your life will be limited. You have about 10 years left." All this negative stuff. And, that was 40 years ago. And there's that brain body connection that you're so aware of, and you can move out of that. You don't have to believe that. You're a fighter, you're a survivor, and you found something that made all the difference for you. And it's your art, it's expressive art. And when did that happen?
My father bought me a paint by number oil kit, and I became ensconced in that because my disease hadn't started yet. But let's remember the PTSD was already there. So I always felt uncomfortable in my skin, and I felt I didn't belong, and I didn't have a positive, encouraging, kind mother.
Yes.
And my dad knew that somehow. And I spent hours and hours painting. And then I went to private lessons. So the whole piece of painting and art, and in high school, I lived there because I couldn't take gym because of the disease. I wasn't allowed to do any physical activity per se, gross motor activity. I was in the art room all the time, sculpting, painting, doing photography, everything. That became my focus and my passion. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing today is just reviving that. And my whole life, I painted my own needle points. I started taking that on as my expression. So after surgery, tendon transfers, my hand is gone. And I am sitting there still doing my needle point, figuring it out, using my teeth. Activity and art expression has always been my go-to, always, not music. I did play guitar, but I couldn't after a while. But somehow or other, the disease paralleled the art expression, creative expression. And when my hands got really bad, worse, I found another expression. So I started doing quilting. I started, on the machine or that kind of stuff. I was able to take that. Thank you for being creative and artistic. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. And exactly what my career was, helping people function at their highest level through the use of this. I did exactly what I was doing as a clinician, as an OT, I did for me.
Did you have other people? You mentioned your dad. Did you have other people growing up that applauded your efforts with art?
No, but I will share with you, and this is really delightful to say the least, when I finally met my biological family. My father had a sister and a brother. Well, guess what? They're all artists.
Oh, okay.
And I said, oh my gosh, now I know where that comes from. And what a gift from the biological family.
Yes.
I didn't have my father. I had this gift. My father made a canoe by himself. He did the woodwork to make a canoe. They lived up in Portland. I mean, my aunt showed me that. She was an artist working at the main art. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh,
that's beautiful.
I get it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, the art today, I I just decided one day, because of the living situation I was in, to just go buy these big canvases and literally slop on some paint from my house. I mean, I had no intention of doing painting, art, painting, expressive painting. And I did that one that we'll talk about, the sort of just strokes.
Well, let's take a look at some of it here.
Okay. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about right now, the slopping on.
Okay, so we'll start. Okay, go ahead. So here we have your slopping on painting. You want to talk about that, and then we'll go through some of them.
Yes, and it makes me smile because I literally just wanted to sort of fill up the canvas so that I can fill up my walls. And I found myself getting very, very quiet, not wanting music on. I really just got into this space that I had no idea was going to happen. Okay. And I ended up not just slopping it on. It was so energy directed. And it was incredible to feel how my body was taking it in. Mm-hmm. And from something that I thought I was just doing this, it turned into, whoa, this amazing ability to express from my intuitive place. And I think for me, that painting really expresses new beginnings, this opening, a lot of swirls, a lot of action.
Yes,
yes. And that movement was exactly what was happening to me in my life. I just did a relationship. I was open to my home being this healing center. It was, and it came through. And
that's beautiful.
And that was the beginning of the rest of it.
Oh, that's beautiful. And it's very musical and very moving and all that. It's just beautiful. Thank you. All right. So tell me about this one.
So that one was interesting. Again, let me just share that this is all being done inside out. In other words, I don't know what color I'm going to use. I don't know what paintbrush I'm going to use. I literally just go in and intuit what wants to come out. And so I'm with my son, who's having a difficult time at the moment. And what I see is these amazing archways. I have a lot of archways and a lot of buildings. And the flower came after all of that. And to me, the flower, I mean, sometimes I see it as sort of the end of the archway, like budding. It's budding. It's got layers of color. Mm-hmm. And it's sort of like an invitation to, what do you want? To, where's the beauty and where do you want to go with this? Because I see it as such a, there's movement in that flower. There's potentiality in that flower. And then, of course, half the time, most of the time, I'm not really doing anything. I'm just putting the paint on and doing this technique I have. But when I was all done and I stood away, I see this cat or this leopard walking through the archways. And I think that's really interesting. And I'm not sure what a leopard stands for. But I was like, whoa, look at that. So I look at this and I look at the colors that have been chosen energetically. And what's the message? And to me, it's there's many, many doorways, many archways. And really the statement for my son at the time was, where would you like to go with this? Because you have this beautiful flower that's very inviting, right? I mean, it's not a happy flower, but there's sensationalism in that flower. Different than my other flowers, I guess. So that's why.
Well, I love how you explain that as you're doing it, you have no idea what the end product is going to be. You're just allowing yourself like a cathartic, you're just letting go, you're just expressing. And then after it's done, you look back and you go, oh my goodness, look at that. You know, that's just so beautiful. I love that. Let's take a look at this one here. It's happy painting.
Happy, joyful, new adventure. I'm budding all over the place.
You're blossoming. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
When you were painting this, are your hands stiff and are you in pain? Describe to us what's happening at this point. This is your happy painting, but you have physical challenges.
Gosh, if I stopped when I was in pain, I would do absolutely nothing. So pain has always been there, and I'm going to reword the pain to, I have 3 to 8 pounds of muscle strength in my arms. So it's the compensation, it's the using my shoulders to paint, it's the way I paint. I mean, I started out painting with the canvases flat because then I'm not going against gravity, and so I don't hurt
Yes.
my
Yes.
upper extremity, my shoulders and my biceps as much. I play with the pincer grasp of holding, or a 3-drawer chuck, to holding the way I hold my brush, so that I'm so
Yes.
functional,
Yes.
right? I know, what can I tell you? But pain, yeah. Muscles
Yeah.
get exhausted very quickly.
Yes. I think that it's just beautiful what you're doing, what you're saying, and I understand it. I live with chronic pain, but it's not there. It's not there because I've come to love the pain and respect it and honor it and work with it. And it's not in the way that people might say, oh, pain, it's working with it and finding creative new ways and really getting into the art or the music or whatever I'm doing or the writing.
I say I hurt or I'm exhausted more than I have actual pain, because it's muscle achiness. It's like I've used me up for the moment kind of thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. I've used me up for the moment. I like that.
Nurture yourself and say, all right, I've had enough right now. I'm going to go have a cup of tea and I'm going to leave my arms alone for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Or change my positioning so it doesn't work on my muscles the same way.
Yeah, which is all that you do. You help people listen. Well, we only have a couple minutes left, but
Okay.
let's quickly just go through these and maybe
So I'm making plans around COVID issues, but I'm making plans to go to Italy, to Florence, to paint, to take some workshops, to actually get in the thick of it and feel the energy of Florence and all the art and the mastery that is there. And I woke up one day and said, okay, I'm just going to paint what the perfect village is for me. And this is what came through. I mean, I did it it's about 3 weeks and I'm not done yet. And what I have on this, which was so interesting in retrospect, is I have the one side where you see those doors, where you're classic Italian, door.
Oh, yes.
Which to me, everything is doorways for me, because I'm all about doorways. And you see the old structure, you see sort of the old Romanesque, ancient buildings.
Yes.
And then you flip to the other side and there's these beautiful flowers again. And again, flowers to me is light and fun and joy and growth and experience. And yeah, let's just keep going. And then the top piece just emerged recently, which is sort of, again, about growth and green. And what I see is Tuscany when I do that versus the other side, which is Florence. But the real key is there's something in the middle, that white patch, what looks so much like a cat to me, or a person. But there's a separation of old and new, or what was traditional ancient and what's coming. And so that's how I go in and do the energetic read on the things I'm doing. And I call it it's the village of joy, because I'm going there with a heart filled with joy to paint and explore and play.
Oh, I'm so happy for you with your journey and plans to go there. So we're just going to quickly flip through these, and then I want to be sure to share your website and what you do, just as some last words. So we'll just take a quick look at that. Just beautiful. You say you have this one right now. You have it in your home?
I'm working on it right now.
Working on
I
it.
worked on it at the art fair this week. I was one
Beautiful.
of the there. And again, it's a lot of poppies and happy flowers.
Oh, and the colors. And I told you earlier, that's why I wore this purple blouse today, to celebrate, because you're all about color. Just so many beautiful colors. Here's one there. I love all the, when I look at your paintings and the brush strokes and there's like a rhythm and movement and all this in there. It's just lovely.
Lots of movement.
So many different windows and openings and
Oh, so this is really amazing. I just have to share with this one. So my daughter said she wanted a painting. So this was really interesting. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I should call her and find out what she wants. And then I said, don't. This is a heart energetic painting. You do not call her. And I sat quietly for 5 minutes. She did tell me she wanted gray, shades of gray. So that's the only thing that she told me. And immediately when I got out of my head and out of my, oh my gosh, will she like this? I went into my energy, okay, my intuitive, and what came through was my throat chakra, was big energy and sunflowers. And then I started painting. But it was so much fun to catch myself and say, no, this is not about what she likes or doesn't like. This is the intuitive read of what's going on right now. And to let you know, my daughter was in the middle of buying a new house or just bought a new house, lots of changes, and she's big energy, lots of dynamics that was going to happen. So that was really cool because I had to stop myself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And really
just to stop
place.
the mind from trying to fix and change and just go with the heart. That's beautiful. So while we look at these other paintings, can you talk a little bit about, you say your daughter, do you have children? Can you share a little bit about
2 children. I have a daughter and a son. My son is a filmmaker and my daughter's a social worker.
Heart-centered people?
Yeah. This is my root chakra when everything was with COVID was going on and the elections were going on and everything that was going on.
Oh my goodness.
I just felt into, oh my gosh, we've got to find that root chakra and get solid. And
I love it.
Happened.
That is perfect.
And it really has every color of the chakra wheel.
Oh, look at that. Get centered. Yeah. Thank you.
That was a heart art. I call my
let me go back there. Okay.
Heart art energetics, because this is a typical reading that I would do on painting. So I go in and I do what I would do as an intuitive, but I put it on canvas.
A gift. Well, I'm going to pull out of this now so we can see each other better here.
The heart art is literally what we're talking about this whole hour, is the heart and the art go hand in hand. So that's why I chose, and when I write it, the A is capitalized. So it's your heart art. It's how would you like to express yourself and to give yourself that ability, give yourself the permission to be expressive. So I offer individual heart art portraits, which I will go in and do the reading. We will talk 20 minutes before, half an hour later. I give you a summary of the theme, what's popping, the whole 9 yards. I also do workshops, both virtually and where I live, so that you bring your paint, you bring your canvas, you bring your brushes, and I will tap in, okay, to what you're painting and what that feels for you. My desire for everyone is to have, whether it's through the heart art, whether it's through readings or healings or this or that or whatever you choose, the overall expression is for you to uplift and free yourself, and you can be everything you want to be this lifetime.
Oh, I love it.
Spirit.
Yeah, you're incredible. It's a joy to be here chatting with you. Final words that you would like to share to inspire someone who's blocked creatively. They've got a lot of stuff inside. They've got a lot of junk inside there. They know they heard you right now. They agree with you, but they're afraid or stuck. What advice do you have to just get started? Like that day when you just started and you slopped it on. How do you break through? What advice do you have? There's people out there that believe in you and believe everything, but they want to get started and they're stuck.
So the first thing you do is give yourself a wrap, I call it, and really hold yourself and let your body know that you got this. And then I want you to just take a really big, deep breath and release all of that, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh attitude, okay? And then feel what comes up, because inside of you is begging to communicate, to share, to feel, to heal, okay? And when you allow yourself that quiet and that space, it's all in there. I mean, what we do is we just pull it out. Everyone can do this. It's the trust, it's the love, it's the, okay, I'm going to figure this out. But you have to tender yourself first. You got to care about you. And when you care about you, you open all of those cells to being sparkly and alive.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what medium you use, whether it's painting or writing or anything, yes. Gardening, anything. It's the same thing.
Exactly.
It's the same willingness to say, oh my gosh, I have so much that wants to come out. And I am going to take a breath, smile, and get out there and do it. And just have fun.
We are kindred spirits, my friend.
Yes, we are.
I agree with you 1,000,000%. Yeah.
It's all inside of you. Bring it out. Bubble it through. Bubble. I just see bubbles everywhere right now.
Well, thank you. Our time is up, and I would love to talk another hour with you. We have to stop. But thank you, especially for giving everyone permission to be themselves, to express themselves. You did it. You gave everyone here permission to love themselves and to care about themselves. And that is huge. And you are a gift, Laura. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.